There aren't a lot of guys who can stay in one job for 50 years.
But just go to Queens and you'll find someone who has, and he's still going strong. Fox 5's Reed Lamberty introduces us to the hot dog man.
He's going very strong, yes. Veteran Fox 5 cameraman Mauro Bertoli, he's a Queens boy, born and raised in Corona. Anyone you know from Corona, very proud of where they came from. Well, he approached me not too long ago about a story in his old hood about a piece of living history, living and breathing history. History that has had such a profound impact on that community. People living there and those who no longer live there still talk about it to this day. Now, I admit history lessons are often tough to watch, but this one, I promise, will be very easy to swallow.
Corona, Queens, over 350 years old, and its story from peaceful farmland to booming city suburb has been captured on the pages of history. But if you head to the intersection of 104th Street and 43rd Avenue,
taste a hot dog.
You can bite into Corona's history.
Delicious, they're the best.
They've been saying that for almost 50 years now. Hot dogs from this nondescript, somewhat run-down truck from a guy whose smile is as memorable as the food he sells. His name is Aristides Zixes.
Just ketchup?
But Corona calls him Eddie Hot Dog.
I pay for colleges, I pay for the weddings, I pay for everything.
Out of this hot dog stand.
Out of this hot dog stand.
Who would have thought hot dogs could be so profitable? Then again, Eddie never thought he'd still be here. A car mechanic in Greece, Eddie moved here when he was 22. He bought the hot dog stand in 1959 with dreams of eventually owning a diner. But the 1964 World's Fair fared well.
I doubled my business in two weeks.
And what a deal it was for customers back then. 45 cents got you 2 hot dogs and a soda.
And I was making more money then than I'm making today. 150.
No, not even hot dogs can escape today's rising food costs. They're still cheap, so are the hamburgers. But price isn't what attracts the faithful.
Yeah, this is a big piece of nostalgia here.
For people who grew up in Corona, stopping by Eddie's truck is a step back in time. Lou Gurtano steps back to the 60s.
My mother even used to come here, used to sell them to her raw on a big string in a brown paper bag.
They smile, we talk about the old days.
Yum, yum.
The old days are long gone. And the neighborhood's changed. There are more people and diversity. And that's what makes Eddie Hot Dog great. Over time, through the change, he's been constant.
If you come here, snow, rain, sleet, or hail, he's here. That means more to me than most things.
Growing up in this town our entire lives, we always try to find those few places that kind of bring us back to when we were kids.
Anybody can go sell a hot dog on the corner, but Eddie, you came here, you got an old story, you got to reminisce.
Almost 5 decades here. Could you imagine the memories, the names and faces, generations of families who have come through Eddie's hot dog stand? Even harder to believe, not one single picture to prove it all happened. In 50 years here, that is Eddie's only regret. He took not one picture of a single customer, and we could only find one picture of him.
It's a picture from when Eddie's hot dog stand stood on a Vespa. Needless to say, the business grew to what it is today, and to what Eddie Hot Dog means to this community.
I was thinking about school, jobs, and stuff. He has offered me to work with him a couple of times. He would run into people in Bayside from Corona, and they would be like, oh, your father this, your father that, And it's nice to hear nice things about, of your father.
And as far as that photo album is concerned, here's one for you, Eddie, to get it going.
Good-looking pair right there, I'd like to say. Now, here's what Eddie wants. It's 50 years almost, and he's looking for, guys, is he does want to sell it. He, of course, everyone in the neighborhood says, oh, yeah, we've heard that for years. Eddie always wants to sell, but he's looking to sell it, but he wants to sell it to someone who really is going to take it over and kind of continue the tradition that was started. Believe it or not, that hot dog stand has been there for over 100 years. There were 2 other people who had it before him. So he's just been there the longest, and everyone knows. I mean, the guy Lou you saw in that story, he was my neighbor, he was my next-door neighbor out in Long Island, and he said, immediately when I told him I was doing it, he goes, oh, Eddie Hot Dog, 104th and 43rd. Everyone knows Eddie Hot Dog and Corona.
Well, even though he didn't take pictures all those years, I'm sure you gave him, or you're going to give him a copy of this story. So what a great thing for
I
him
hope
to have.
well, he didn't request it, but he could always go to
Eddie.
myfoxny.com. Yes, I can
Reed
always.
at
he did-
reed.lamberty@foxtv.com and get
He
a
did
DVD.
invite me to come back and get a couple hot dogs.
So you only
So-
had one when you shot
I
the story?
swear I only had one. Morrow had like
that?
8.
I think you got more coming to you than a couple of hot dogs.
They were
That's
very-
probably
they are
all you
good.
can legally take,
That's
though.
all- that's all-
Yes.
Exactly.
Never
We
mind.
do have contracts, right? We have guidelines. So, well, great guy. Really is a great guy. He looks great. 72 years
does.
old. He
Yeah.
hasn't aged a day. So I guess hot dogs, they work.
It's health food.
It is.
All right,
Be like a
thanks.
good day.
It's a great story,
Good day
Reed.
cafe segment.